And welcome back to part 2 of my overall thoughts now. I did watch the EA ones now and the Ubisoft ones, but mainly I'm going to focus on the three big ones, Microsoft, Nintendo and Sony now. But there's a few games that I've seen from them and I'd like to get though, and I'll probably talk about them maybe at the end of these videos anyway. But let's get going. These next conference was Nintendo now, and over the last few years Nintendo hasn't really shows have really been stellar. People have had really bad memories of the 07 and 08 ones. They were pretty god awful, so they were. And I feel that 09 was a step in the right direction. They showed, they still had some of this stuff, but they showed some games that looked appealing though, and they were great. I can't wait to play them and that there. And so they did, and I just felt that was a step in the right direction. And this year I think it even improved even more now, and I was quite surprised with Nintendo's this year. I thought it might have been something the same as last year now, where they had like a mixture of sort of good stuff, but had a mixture of the meh stuff. But this year it was mostly positive. There was just a few little downers, but it was mostly up. The first part was just kicked things straight off with Zelda, and you think, this is going to be great. But it didn't go perfectly well because the demo they showed had some technical issues and it wasn't working fully. Miyamoto was on stage trying to play it, and apparently his controls weren't registering, and apparently it was due to technical issues and wireless interference or whatnot. That could be the case, I don't know, but it was just a shame to see though it's just a shame to see that happen though, and it was a bit of a downer though, because I love the Legend of Zelda series though. I've loved it ever since I've played A Link to the Past, and I've just loved the series from it, so I have. And it looks cool though. The visual style of it looks really interesting now. The whole it's a mixture of a bit mixture of Twilight Princess and a bit with cell shaded style with Wind Waker or whatever. So it's kind of the best of both worlds then, because I like the graphical style of both games, so I do. Both styles really, and mixing them together, I feel it's a good thing. And as a card, it's called Skyward Sword, and it's not until 2011, which again it's a bit of a downer though, but again it just goes to show that at least we'll have some games out next year though, Legend of Zelda, and Gears of War 3 is gonna be out as well. And they just kind of went a bit downhill again from that there. Just went with Mario Sports Mix. I never played any of the Mario Sports games, so I can't really say, but I heard they're fun games though, but they're not really for me because I never played any of them, but I heard they're fun games. Wii Party, no, I don't think no one, in my opinion, apart from the people who like those kind of games, would care whatsoever. No. And Just Dance, I think they showed this trailer for it, the sequel to it, which I couldn't care less about. And no. But I mentioned Dance now. I forgot to mention Dance Central previously in the Microsoft conference, and it looks pretty interesting as well though. I don't know if it would appeal to me now, but I could get it though. It is kind of a dance game though, and it could be useful for someone who's a bit out of weight, like myself. So you never know. And then went after that. It went up, in my opinion. Just went up and up. And they showed off Golden Sun trailer, which I never played any of those games, but I heard they're really great RPGs, and I should try to get them because I can probably get them for pretty cheap now anyway, since they're pretty old games for the GBA. So there was, so, and she had Dragon Quest, so they did. Then it just talked a bit more about it. Um, I might get it anyway. It's coming out soon in the States, so it is, and probably will be a few months afterwards here in Europe. And then I think it's when things start to get really great for some people who like Nintendo and like the old sort of franchises, like Kirby, Epic Yarn. The visual style for it looks brilliant though, just the way they use the yarn and just the way it just has that mixture to me, as like sort of has that kind of like thing with, you know, like Paper Mario and, you know, Yoshi's Island slash Yoshi's Story. Now it just sort of has that sort of mending art style there, so it does, and it just looks very, very cool though. It just looks really beautiful to look at though. And then the next game was the one that got me most giddy though. I'm sorry if I'm being kind of a fanboy here, but I'm not a fanboy. But it's the game that I just was so effing happy for. It was one of the, I don't know if I mentioned it in my E3 predictions video. I might have, but it was one I wanted to see happen, and boy did they not disappoint. Donkey Kong Country is coming back, and I couldn't be more excited though. I love the Donkey Kong Country series on the Super Nintendo. They're some of my favourite games, so they are. And just to see a new Donkey Kong Country back to its side-scrolling 2D goodness, and it looks awesome though. And it's coming out, I believe, this year, as well as I think Kirby as well, and I could not wait for it though. I just cannot wait for them games. And I think Epic Mickey might have been before those games, or I forget, but it looks really cool as well though. The way the whole thing works, that you can actually, you know, with the painting, you could sort of delete characters, delete parts of the world, and sort of change things though. It's kind of like this whole sort of light side slash dark side motif, but in this kind of game though, and it looks really cool though, and I love to see more of it now. Over next whenever I think it's coming out this year, I'm not sure as well, but it looks really, really cool. And GoldenEye remake as well. That's I really liked the GoldenEye games back in, you know, I really liked the GoldenEye in '96 when it came out, but I don't know if I really want to see. It's cool, it's great to see, but I'm not one of those ones who's like, oh god, GoldenEye, yes. Will it really stand up now? It's made by Activision. It's made by people who did apparently The World Is Not Enough, and I heard that game's not very good, so fingers crossed for people who are hoping this game's actually very good. It's pretty much a remake anyway, and like the last GoldenEye game, Rogue Agent, wasn't very good, I heard also, so just have to wait and see there. And then, so that was great. And finally they talked about the 3DS, and they didn't show anything though, which is kind of disappointing then, but I kind of have a feeling they wouldn't really show a whole lot of stuff anyway. But it sounds very good though, and just feels, I feel, judging from what they've been talking about, it looks very, very intriguing. I can't wait to see, get my hands on one whenever it's released, probably sometime next year. I like the fact though that you don't have to have the 3D effect on it though, that you have a slider and you can still play it in 2D, but you can like slide it up and have certain like percentage of the 3D effect on it on the top screen now. And the device looks cool though, it does look like a thing, but it looks very sleekish, and like the top screen's a bit wider now, so it is. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. And there's been certain games in there. It's going to be an Ocarina of Time remake, which is pretty awesome. And there's a Star Fox 64 / Lilac Wars remake apparently. There's going to be a Paper Mario game. There's going to be a Kingdom Hearts game. There's going to be Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater 3D, and DJ Hero 3D, and Resident Evil, Saints Row, Super Street Fighter 4, etc. It's just going to be a lot of, seems to be going to be a lot of very good games coming on the 3DS already though. Just have to wait and see when some of those games will be out. but it's going to be very interesting indeed. Though I'm really looking forward to seeing more from what the 3DS has to offer though. And I really enjoyed the Nintendo one though. Like, they didn't really have a whole lot of demos now. Like, I think the only demos they really had was, you know, Zelda and you know, Epic Mickey though. But as far as like certain games that showed off and the announcements, etc., they really surprised me this year, and I was very happy with it this year. I thought it was a very enjoyable conference though, and just some of the franchises being revived though after so long, it just brings a smile to my face. And the Wii is going to get a lot of love from me this year now over the next year, because some of those games really look great. So anyway, stay tuned for part 3 where you give my thoughts on the Sony press conference, so stay tuned.